This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the protection of an offensive guard on the football field, but getting an elementary school crossing guard. Sure, they're both guards, but you can only trust one to keep your quarterback safe when the game is on the line. So don't settle for just any insurance when there's State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
The McDonald's Snack Wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch Snack Wrap. Spicy Snack Wrap. You broke the internet. For a snack. Snack Wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Oh, Hilton stay. Your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, our holiday you're saving.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. This season, enjoy spacious, comfortable rooms and friendly service when you book with Hilton instead. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Nature's Bounty. Nature's Bounty believes your body is brilliant, naturally designed to thrive, inside and out. For those always looking for new ways to support your health from head to heels, Nature's Bounty has a range of over 400 vitamins and supplements born from 50 years of trust and care. Nature's Bounty. It's in your nature. Visit naturesbounty.com to learn more.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Victory Green Hour, our first one in what seems like forever, as the Eagles were able to end their three-game losing streak with a 31-0 victory over the hapless Las Vegas Raiders. I'm your host, LG Harrell, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Connor Donald. Connor, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
Feeling better myself, and then I'm feeling a lot better that the Eagles did what they were supposed to do and took care of business, but of course, there's not really a whole lot to talk about, as the national media is clearly showing and alluding to. We beat who we were supposed to beat, and it's nothing special. So even though it was the other way.
Unless you're the Dallas Cowboys and you beat the Raiders, and then, they're going to go on a run. I saw that get up clip.
I saw that get up clip too. Yeah, and I feel like, there was something special about the potential comeback that was coming with the Cowboys. So they were just riding that train all over the place, hoping that it would actually happen. Because let's just face it, the national media hates the Eagles. They want the Cowboys in and to win this division so bad. And I'm so glad that the odds are, 1% now.
Yep, as Connor was saying, the Eagles are one. And their magic number is 1, I should say, from clinching the NFC East. That could happen as early as Saturday night if they defeat the Washington Commanders. If they don't defeat the Commanders, it could happen Sunday if the Los Angeles Chargers help us out and defeat the Cowboys on Sunday. Before we jump into the game, as always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LG Harrell. Follow the Eagles Pin Pull Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your podcasts at Eagles Pin Pull Network. As I mentioned, it was 31-0. The Eagles came out, and again, first play, I think, was a pass. Second play was a run. Third play was a mid shot to A.J. Brown that got a pass interference, and I think the Eagles were lucky that it was a pass interference because I don't know if the crowd would have been able to handle a 3-and-out, open the game against the Raiders. And with weapons in the stadium, a.k.a. snow, definitely would not have been good for them. But the Eagles were able to sustain a long drive, go down the field, score, and pretty much win the game on that first drive. And one thing that everybody's been talking about, creativity from the offense. I feel like in the red zone they've been creative with Dallas Goedert. And again, it's not a trick play as some dumbass Pete writers, aka Elliott Short Parks, calls those passes or those plays to Dallas Goedert. But we've seen the Andy Reid shovel pass that he does with Travis Kelce. He did it with the Eagles. Got the touchdown. Later in the game, they did the pop pass, getting Goddard coming across in motion, the line of scrimmage, and he was able to outrun the defense to get into the end zone. So that was nice to see. They were under center a lot more. I think the most that they've ever been under center under Sirianni. So good job by, the coaching staff of kind of maybe changing things up. But my thing is consistency. I want to see it against a better team. Not the Raiders, who are probably the worst team in football, one of the worst teams I've ever seen in football, and over the last, 5-10 years. So if they can do that against a better, the Bills in 2 weeks, then, maybe then we'll see something. But over these last 3 games, like I mentioned, the Eagles just have to win one and then prioritize health. Look, they're not going to fall further than the number 3 seed. The chances of getting the number 1 seed are slim, even though they have that head-to-head over the Rams. But the Rams have, I think, a 2-game lead on them right now. And the Bears are second. And if you think about it, Micah Parsons is out for the Packers. So this is, I think, as wide open as the NFC has been in a long, I think the playoffs in general have been in a long, long time. I didn't mean to, jump off the game, but just kind of like looking at the outlook of it, the Eagles are in position. If they can handle business on Saturday, I would prioritize health. We know at the end, his second to last play, Jalen did something, and I don't know if the injury report came out yet today. I know they did a walkthrough. So I'm intrigued to see what the injury report's going to be. If they're going to say anything about Jalen, we know how secretive as they can be. They are. Today, Sirianni was asked multiple times about it, and he said, look, you're kind of looking too much into it, but we'll see. Devin White, it seemed like Jalen was in between. Did he want to keep running? Did he want to slide while Devin White was there? And then, the very next play, he threw the touchdown pass to AJ. Obviously, he didn't have to run, but he definitely was feeling something as he was trying to stretch it out. Pam Oliver, after the game, asked him about it. He said, there's something. He said, something's up. We just don't know. So it's been a couple days. I'll be intrigued to see. I don't know your thoughts on that, Connor, when the injury report comes out, or what you think may be the issue, or what's going on with Jalen Hurts.
I agree with you on the point that I think he was in between making a decision, and that's never a good decision. You should always go for the safer route, and I think he should have got down a bit earlier, took the slide. The game was well out of reach even at that point. I guess we shouldn't say well out of reach. We blew a 21-point lead at one point in the season, but I don't think we were blowing it to the Las Vegas Raiders. And then I was kind of upset with the call in general, because I believe the call was kind of like a draw type play, if I remember right. So it was kind of putting him out there to have to make that decision in a game where, okay, you proved he can run, he will run. Let's not put him at risk anymore. We know that we can win this game without Jalen Hurts using his legs, and we know that he can use his legs. He's willing to do it. You proved that point. You're willing to call it. You proved that point. We don't need to put him at risk any further. So I was looking on Twitter. It doesn't look like the walkthrough has come out, which is no surprise. It's only 6:00 in Philly right now. I think last week when they did this, a walkthrough report only came out around 7:00 or so. So I'm not surprised that we may not see it before the end of this episode. But even if they put him up on the injury report, that it, I wouldn't be shocked. Are people going to overreact to it? Likely. People already were asking about it and overreacting to it. But the fact that he, got kind of walked it off a little bit through that touchdown, but then he got pulled for obvious, blowout reasons to bring in the 2s and 3s. So I don't read in, there's some reporters who were reading into that as, they pulled him because of the injury.
It's a short week.
Yeah, I think it was safe to say that it was a good time to give them a quarter of rest and get them off the field an hour early. We just played the second shortest game in NFL history. It was wild. 2 hours and 31 minutes. No better way to do it.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I know. It got you right keyed in for that 5:00 slot. You had time to have a bathroom break, snack break, supper break, and you were ready to go for the 5:00 slot by the time that game ended. Or 4:00 for you guys over there.
And me and Johnny did the post-game show afterwards, 3:30, 3:45. I was like, what's our time? I was like, it was early for him because he's over in the UK, and it was like a nice, quick game for him to be able to get on and get it done and over with.
Yeah, it was an odd concept, but I mean, I agree with you on going back to the game on the creative aspect. It feels like throughout the season, there's been, those scripted first 15 plays sometimes look good. They sometimes get something going on offense, but they also, and what I struggle with usually is when they get into a lead, that's when they get conservative. That's when they walk things back. They didn't against the Raiders, which was good. And I think they knew they had to keep the foot on the gas. But if we get ahead against the Commanders or we get ahead against the Bills, are we going to fall back into old habits or are we going to be able to, continue to be creative? And to your point about the Dallas Goedert play, somebody posted side-by-side footage of Scott Loeffler and Harold Fannin doing the same play last year at Bowling Green. And someone said, someone's clearly in his ear, but they've been doing the Dallas Goedert play. I think when was the first time they did that? It was like week 1. They pulled the Dallas Goedert play out of the playbook. So I don't know if Scott Loeffler had much of a say then, but would it be a surprise to you if Scott Loeffler has had a hand in it a little bit? Because we're seeing a career year out of Dallas Goedert after he got the best year out of Harold Fannin at Bowling Green, and Harold Fannin's finding great success with the Cleveland Browns with the Njoku injury right now. So, I mean, do you think there's some sort of voices that are getting in there now?
I think that they've expanded who can maybe contribute plays. Now, obviously, it is Patullo calling the plays, but that's what you use the coaching staff for. Like, you kind of get ideas from everybody, and you don't have to use the ideas all the time, but Loeffler called. I'm pretty sure. I know he was that coach. I think he called plays at Bowling Green.
He did. Yep.
Yeah. So
he did.
It wouldn't surprise me if maybe they had an offensive meeting and it was like, look, we need to figure it out. We need to quote unquote spice it up, and find an identity, whatever that may be, and just try something new. Dallas Goedert's having a really good year. Now, it'd be nice if they can get the receivers involved in the red zone, but they score touchdowns, and that's really all that matters at this point. Again, against the Chargers, it took Jalen having the worst game of his career, and it still went to overtime, and they still had a chance to win at the end, or at least tie it for the Chargers to beat them. So, I don't know how many times for the rest of his career is Jalen Hurts going to turn the ball over 5 times in a game? Not a handful of times, I don't think. He may never do it again. Who knows? Because we've talked about how risk-averse he is. But, just finding a way to get the offense comfortable. They ran for over 180 yards. It did take 47 or whatever carries. But still, it was nice to see them kind of get back to what they do. And, again, it was against a hapless team. I always have to preface it, by saying it was the Raiders. But the one thing I liked, if we go, I do want to talk about defense, but going to the Eagles' last possession, with backups against the starters. Now, Max Crosby was out there, Devin White, Jeremy Chin, everybody else kind of sucks on that defense. But the backups led by Tanner McKee, they went on a 17-play drive and didn't score, but they killed over 11 and a half minutes off the clock. That was freaking amazing just to see that. And you kind of had a feeling with the snow overnight, it was cold. The Raiders didn't want to be there. They looked like a team that just wanted to go back to Vegas and they want their season to end.
I agree with you. This team has looked tapped out since, the reports emerged that, Pete Carroll might be one and done, which was what I think started probably about a month ago. That team has looked tapped out ever since, and they have years of work ahead of them. It's unbelievable the amount of work they have ahead of them. They have Ashton Genty on offense, about the extent of it. They have Max Crosby on defense. That's about the extent of it. You have to fill in basically all the other voids from there. So I feel bad for Vegas fans. You move to Vegas, you get this new beautiful stadium. You're hoping to draw fans, and this is the type of product that you're putting on the field. It's a shame. It's a goddamn shame. But I agree with you. People got to see Tanner McKee. I'm sure there were people who loved it. I'm sure I didn't see it on X, but I'm sure deep in the Xosphere, there were people who were like, this is why he should be starting and not Jalen Hurts. Even though what they saw for the first 3 quarters from Jalen Hurts, I would not be surprised. And I know that we always have to preface it by it is the Raiders, but I think that it's worth noting that every national and local media source was saying they went out and they held them to the lowest amount of offensive yardage in 75 years, or since the 50s, something like that. I think it was 75 yards, but it was the lowest amount in 70 some years.
for the Eagles.
Yep. So they did it on defense. Jalen Hurts was extremely efficient through the air. I mean, what his final thing was 12 for 15 for 175 and 3 TDs. And let's not forget Dallas Goedert. Yeah. Let's not forget Dallas Goedert dropped that dime that would have been a touchdown that would have made the score 38-0. But I mean, they may have pulled the starters even earlier if that touchdown actually ended up happening.
Did they score a touchdown that drive or kick a field goal? Because I don't remember what happened. But
feel like they scored the touchdown later on, but they had to get further into the drive to make it happen. I'd have to look. I'll go look at the play-by-play and see when he was that
one Dallas Goedert catch away from probably having a perfect passer rating. He was at 154.9, I think. And if that happens, he's 13 of 15, 180-ish yards, 4 touchdowns potentially. A perfect passer
It's the second
rating.
time this year that he was up over 154, I think, and he did it again in the
Vikings.
In the game against Minnesota Vikings. I mean, and obviously people are going to be like, yeah, but look at the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Minnesota Vikings defense isn't that bad. Their offense is problematic, yes, but I don't think their defense was that bad. So for him to carve them up, for him to go and carve up the Raiders, I get it, I understand it, and I know that we have to preface it like this, but it's important that the media should also remember that for 4 or 5 days before this game, they were saying they have to blow them out. And they went in there, and both me and you had the Raiders putting up points in our prediction. And they didn't even put up points. They barely even put up yardage. So I think that should be acknowledged. When we preface it by saying it's just the Raiders, it should also be noted that, like you said, just a couple weeks ago, ESPN was ranting and raving that the Dallas Cowboys comeback was on and they beat the Raiders, but there was no preface in their comments with this Raiders team sucked, because this Raiders team still sucked whenever they played the Cowboys, 4 weeks ago. They were still this bad then. Nothing was different except they had Geno Smith on the field. So I guess you could say they had Geno out there, but I think that we probably would have done very similar to Geno Smith out there. That defense was on point.
Yeah, the defense was really good. Old man Brandon Graham deserves a lot of kudos. He played with Jalen Carter out, playing the defensive tackle position. He was able to get 2 sacks, the oldest player to get 2 sacks. And I think what Sirianni said, the oldest player to get 2 sacks in the first game in an NFL game since the early 2000s. It's great. Like, he only played 7 snaps and had 2 sacks. Like, that's 30% of 30%, whatever it is, of his snaps. He was able to get to the quarterback. Zach Bond had an interception. The Eagles defense was all over the place. And you could tell early on, it seemed like Tyler Lockett was trying to get into Cooper DeJean's head, try to get him thrown out, do something. He got 2 penalties on one play, but Cooper DeJean did. Still, it was just see the defense flying around. And again, I like to see that they were executing the game plan, because you could get into a game like that and you know that the opposing offense can't do anything against you, and you might go lackadaisical, kind of play prevent and just try to get the game over with. No, Vic Fangio stuck with his game plan. You got to see Adoree Jackson, who's had a couple of good weeks now against not, great, or the Raiders aren't great. The Chargers have a good receiving corps, but their offensive line isn't good, and the Eagles were able to get after Herbert for 7 sacks. But just to see Adoree Jackson play and get more confidence, because when you're going to go up against better offenses in the playoffs, he's going to be the second CB2. He's going to be on the field. So you want to get him as much confidence as possible. And we haven't, whose name we haven't heard? Quinyon Mitchell. And that's good. You're not even testing him. It's amazing that he just goes out there, covers whoever he's covering, and they don't even look to his side of the field. And Nakobe Dean, again, had a really good game, sniffing out screens to Bowers, who's, again, I forgot to mention Bowers. Bowers is also really good for them. Also, sniffing out screens to Genty and just hit, I love, and I mention this all the time, I love the way Nakobe Dean blitzes. Like, he is one of the toughest linebackers to stop when he blitzes. He's all over the place. And everybody's talking about it seems like Zach Bond's having a down year. I think his year last year was so good that people are measuring this year to that year. And it would be impossible for him to live up to that hype or to kind of do that same thing. But, he's had a really good year. He was an all-pro last year, and everybody's like, oh, he'll be an all-pro again. Like, we got to, you have to think about it. We're playing a harder schedule, playing better offenses, and he's still having a really, really good year.
Yeah, he's having an extremely productive year. And just like you said, you go from literally being a special teamer to coming into a system where you become arguably the most important player in that system last year. I know that we have Q and we had Cooper DeJean, and Cooper DeJean only joined, after the bye, and things seemed to turn around for the defense then. But you could really argue last year, Zach Bond was the most important piece in the key cog, because if we have that middle linebacker role just being a Kobe Dean, and who knows who else, it could be such a different outcome, but it isn't. So I agree with you. I think that people had such sky-high expectations, but don't realize that he's had an extremely productive season. He's done very well. He's making the plays he needs to. Has he missed some tackles? Has he missed some plays? Absolutely. So has most of the people on this defense. It happens, but I think that he's been really good. He may be a down year statistically from last year, but I don't think it's going to be as down as a lot of people have in their mind that it might be. And then for Q, I mean, obviously I had no thoughts that he would get tested with Kenny Pickett at QB. I think, Pickett saw it last year. Pickett knew, he's like, if I'm going to have any chance, I'm not going anywhere close to that side of the field. But I mean, I think he's kind of underrated. Like, you hear when they talk about, the Eagles, or they talk about different football teams in the national media scope, a lot of teams, really good defensive teams, like, Derek Stingley, Pat Surtain get mentioned when talking about the Texans and when talking about the Broncos. But when this same national media talks about the Eagles defense, Quinyon Mitchell is barely mentioned. He's like an afterthought. And it's kind of like, is it because, and I guess we can get into Brett Eclipse. Thank you for joining us. He says, do you guys think Quinyon can snag a first-team All-Pro, or do you think he's going to get snubbed for a lack of interceptions?
I don't think the interceptions have anything to do with it.
It shouldn't be. And that was the point that I was coming to, is it because people are completely avoiding his side? And when they go, I think it's worth noting, when they go to his side of the field, he ranks among the top 3 among cornerbacks in almost every key statistical category. So it's not like if they go there, they're actually getting anything out of it.
I think he's the only corner with 500 coverage snaps to not give up a touchdown. I know he technically, he wasn't in coverage on that touchdown against the Chiefs, but he was there. It was a busted coverage. He just doesn't get tested. And people talk about Cooper DeJean before they talk about Quinyon Mitchell. And if we look at the Pro Bowl voting, Q's not even in the top 10 cornerbacks, which is crazy. He's had such a good year. But obviously, you mentioned Patrick Surtain, Derek Stingley. I know Sauce Gardner's hurt, but even him, I'm trying to think.
I almost think he's I almost think he's an afterthought, just because there's so many other players standing out on this. Even Nakobe Dean came back, and so much attention went to him and Zach Bond and what he's doing, and they like the splash plays. So to that degree, what you see in highlight packages is not Quinyon Mitchell locking down his side of the field or breaking up a lot of passes. It's Cooper DeJean with an interception, Bond with an interception, Dean with a huge stop on an attempted pass into the flat or something. It's not Quinyon Mitchell there. So I think that because people don't see him, they tend to forget about him. And I think it's doing him a complete injustice.
I also think, man, going up against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith throughout camp, for the last 2 years, has definitely helped his game. He is so...
Yeah, what is it? Iron sharpens iron, or whatever the statement is?
Iron sharpens iron. And as Brett Eclipse says, I think Quinyon has an argument for being the best player on the Eagles right now. And you think about it, I'll put A.J. Brown up there as one of the best players. Q, Cooper, Jalen Carter. I know he hasn't had the best. He's been better. He was better before he got hurt, and he didn't have the greatest start to his season, but still, Jalen Carter belongs up there. It's crazy, though, when you look at all the names on the offense. And look, Lane Johnson, still think he's one of the best players on the team as well. Look at all the names on the offensive side of the ball, but then, when you think about Q or Coop potentially being the best players on the team right now. I was mentioning this to Johnny after the pregame show. Right now, all the money is on the offense. The Eagles have the highest paid offense and I think the least highest paid defense. Well, that's going to switch in a couple years. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, all these guys are going to have to get paid. I don't know how they're going to be able to keep them, but if you're going to pay those guys, Dallas Goedert won't be here. Somebody on the offensive line potentially might not be here, or Maybe Lane Johnson retires. Who knows what happens at the receiver position? Like, something is going to have to give, or the salary cap jumps up a lot and the Eagles are able to figure it out, which we know Howie Roseman is a wizard with that. So it's definitely going to be intriguing over the next couple of years how they change that and how they try to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear Dallas Goedert's probably gone at the end of the season unless he takes a team-friendly deal. But I think he did the team-friendly route this past off season with how Howie and him were able to work something out for him to come back. And now he's like, all right, Howie, I've earned my bag. This is going to be my last kick at the can for a contract. And I don't think, I mean, you could argue we're going to probably need to maybe consider it because how else are we going to address it? Where else are we going to go at tight end? Like, it's going to become a massive, probably the biggest need on the team if we let Dallas Goedert walk, because we see what Grant Calcaterra is doing on the field. We see what Kylen Granson's doing on the field. You know Granson's gone. You know Calcaterra will be back, but you know he can't be a pass blocker. You know that he can't be a run blocker. You know that he's really only a semi-adequate pass catcher. So it'll be interesting to see. And I mean, we finally got to see a little bit more of Cam Latu on the field. While we saw a little bit more, obviously his effectiveness dipped, but he's not going to be perfect and flawless. Like, some of the times when he's been on the field 2 or 3 times, we've ended up having 2 or 3 super successful rushing attempts base running behind him. But I do think somebody posted on X something about like how good would it be to have Cam Latu and Ben Van Sumeren, or imagining Ben Van Sumeren and Cam Latu blocking next year or this year if it could have come to fruition, because we know that Ben Van Sumeren was a really good blocker, and I think we kind of are probably in a way missing him quite a bit in the run game more than we like to think about, especially for Saquon Barkley and opening up holes and finding those holes for Saquon Barkley.
One thing, they are predictable when they put, Grant Calcaterra and Latu out there. I think Calcaterra played 37 snaps and they ran on 27 of them. So, like, it is pretty much saying, hey, when these guys are out there, they're going to run the football. So we would like to see some stuff built off of that. And maybe they're saving that for the playoffs. And who knows? And you'll see a change there. I would much rather see Cam Latu over Grant Calcaterra on the field, because I think he's definitely a better blocker. He played tight end in Alabama, so we know he can catch the football. I do like this, and I was thinking about it with, as Brett Eclipse says, Isaiah likely could be a possible Goddard replacement. With Mark Andrews getting that extension with Baltimore, if Likely's out, I would definitely consider that. I think he would look good in Eagles green.
Yeah, Likely. I think Michael Mayer may be due for his contract may be up, because I can't imagine that they're going to give him his 5th-year option. I think Mayer eligible for a 5th-year option? Was he first round? No, I don't think he was. No, I think he was second round, so he's not eligible for that. If Harold Fannon's emerging, maybe, a guy like David Njoku becomes available, but do we want to go down that route with taking on a guy who's struggled with injuries over the past couple seasons? And then obviously there's could you revisit the Darnell Washington proposition that was kind of being thrown out there, or have the Steelers found a significant value in keeping a guy that's nearly 300 or near or over 300 pounds barreling down the field, knocking people over like a bowling ball to bowling pins? It'll be interesting to see. I think that Howie's going to have options. It just sucks. It's unfortunate that, because Dallas Goedert knows the offense. I would love to have Dallas Goedert come back, but he has earned the right to go and get his money. And that obviously happened with Josh Sweat and Milton Williams. You're not always going to be able to bring some of those guys back. And they did right by you. Like Josh Sweat, I think, did something with his contract right before the final year of his contract. Dallas Goedert did the same thing. They did right by Howie and probably had a handshake deal of, if I perform, you either got to pony up or I'm out. And obviously this is probably a similar situation for Dallas Goedert. His time is probably done in Philadelphia, but I would love to have him here. But I think there's going to be options, and whether that be through a pick early in the draft. I don't know how the tight end class looks this year. I haven't looked into it, but
Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon is pretty good.
I have seen that in a few mock drafts for first round. So, I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of us in talking about mock drafts, but that's how this game went. Obviously, that we're already looking towards Dallas Goedert's future and the needs of the offseason. Here's a few more comments here. In terms of defensive re-signings over the next couple years, I would prioritize Q, Coop, and Carter in that order.
Well, Carter's going to get an extension after this year, probably. So he's first in line.
Yeah, he's ultimately gonna end up first in line. And I mean, I think he's
going to get the biggest payday.
His position and, you know, what we've been able to do sometimes without Carter there versus if we don't have Q or if we move Coop around. I get where the proposition of prioritizing comes from there. Q and Coop are going to be very important. I think those three are all very important. Jordan Davis has had an amazing season, but to be honest, he probably falls further down the priority chain than some of the other guys that I see. But what does that look like if you open up that hole and don't have Jordan Davis there? What do you end up doing? What we've seen of Ty Robinson hasn't been anything exciting. Not like, you know, when we knew Milton Williams was on his way out the door, Moro Ojomo was showing signs behind Milton Williams when he was given an opportunity, and he stepped up in a huge way. I can't say that sitting here right now, I would confidently say we have someone ready if we were to move on from Jordan Davis right behind him. I don't think I'm at that point because we haven't seen enough. We haven't needed to. Whereas last year you had Milton Williams play 45% of snaps and Moro Ojomo play like 35 or something. This year you have Moro Ojomo playing a lot more, Jordan Davis playing a lot more, and Jalen Carter playing his, 95+% of snaps every game. We're not seeing that gap where you have an opportunity for someone to really show I can be the next guy up this year.
Yeah, I think it is. It quote unquote could be easier to find a defensive tackle, but I don't think Jordan Davis is going anywhere. Remember, people complained when Howie picked up his 5th-year option, and look at the year he's having. So he is definitely going to probably get a decent contract, and I honestly think that he's one of the leaders in on that defensive line and in the defensive room, which is loaded with leaders, Zach Ball and Nakobe Dean. And I think he's also important to potentially quote unquote keeping Jalen Carter in line. So I do think Jordan Davis is definitely going to be here. I think obviously not looking to the draft, but the Eagles are going to probably go offensive line. As Brett Eclipse says, there's the possibility of Lane retiring this year. I think he's going to play for another, if we win the Super Bowl, I think he retires. That would be 3 back-to-back. I think he would go out on top. But, I do think that he may give it another year or two after this. I think I remember him saying something. He wants to kind of play out the length of his contract, which is another 1 or 2 years. They extended him, so I think maybe it's 2 years.
Yeah, he basically said he would do 2 more years, and then there was a bit of a contract adjusting that happened in the offseason. So I have a belief Lane will be there, but that's not to say, Lane's there, let's just not address the position. Although I do think it speaks volumes that they opened up the practice windows of Lampkin, and it closed, and he didn't come back.
I think they just wanted to have them practice. Like, Hinton is
That's
open.
my thoughts. They want to get
Williams
an eye
is
on
open right now.
Yep.
They're not going to activate him. They just want him to practice at some play, just to get out there on the field.
That's exactly where I was going with it. They want practice. They want to get an early look at what they got because Howie's thinking ahead. You already know Howie's did these 3. It's rare we open practice windows and don't activate players. And the fact that it's 3 offensive linemen, Howie's getting ahead of things. He's getting a look at what he's got in the field to see, okay, is it time that I look for the next Lane Johnson in this draft class? You asked about, do you go free agency? Look at some of the big, first of all, signing tackles costs a fortune. Howie Roseman has been stellar at drafting, having Stoutland in-house and them evaluating players and drafting offensive linemen. They've been absolutely stellar at that over the last, call it decade, even more than decade. They've been really good at that. So I think that he would like to address it via the draft because they're confident in what Stoutland sees in people and in the decision that Howie's going to make. And I also think you look at a lot of how these free agent tackles that got signed, a lot of these big money tackles had really bad seasons and fell flat on their face or got injured. So you get a younger guy in-house, you get a guy who you can manipulate and can learn right from the beginning at the position. Yeah, no, excellent at drafting, but not perfect. Of course, he's going to miss on some. I get it, but he quickly fixed the Andre Dillard mistake in future drafts after that. But obviously, he's not perfect, but they clearly saw something in Dillard, and it just didn't end up coming to fruition. But to more answer your question, do you go free agency or high draft pick? I think it's going to be high-end draft pick by Howie Roseman and Jeff Stoutland to fill the Lane Johnson void whenever that comes. And I think they would be remiss not to address it this off season, because I think you can't keep kicking the can. If he says, "Oh, I think I got 2 more years in me," and you just keep kicking the can down the road, eventually there could be a major injury or something could bite you, and you don't want to be there for when that happens. But that's why I think, they want to look at Cam Williams. I don't think Miles Hinton would be the answer. He's like the next Fred Johnson. He's the next like swing tackle type option. But I don't think that Miles Hinton's the answer. But Cam Williams could be. I mean, they had talked about it in the offseason, like, could he be the answer? And that's why they want to get a look at all of these 3 guys before the offseason program starts and see what they got in these guys. So it's just Howie doing his due diligence and looking ahead.
I do want to see one thing Brett Eclipse said. He said, big picture for 2025, given the Cowboys' loss, the pressure is off to win a ton over the last 3 weeks. So focus on getting the offense in sync and competent to lean on the defense in the playoffs. I would still, I want to win on Saturday, get it done and over with, because if you lose Saturday and Dallas beats the Chargers on Sunday, we have the Bills next week. They have the Washington, and we finish with Washington, and they have the Giants. You do not want to go to week 18 where, if they're facing the Giants, I know it'd be in Jersey, but the Giants stink. Yeah, I'm worried about that. I just want to get it done and over with. I still think there's a little bit of pressure, just because of, remember, in 2023 we lost 6 of our last 7. Now we beat the Giants and it wasn't a 31-0 game like it was against, we just did the Raiders, but still we lost to the Cardinals. I was at that game, a bad Cardinals team. There's still a little bit of pressure because a lot of the faces are still on this team that were on that team. They went through it. Now everybody's saying it's not the same, which I believe them. If you lose to Washington this week, that Buffalo game is hard anyway. Do you see what Josh Allen has been doing? They were down 21-0 on the road in New England and won and scored 35 of the next 45 points. They won 35-31. And so you don't want to have to go into Buffalo needing to win, because it's tough to win in Buffalo.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I would love to see it get wrapped up, and then you make the decisions from there on how you want to rest people. Do I think you rest your starters for the final 2 games if you're locked in? I don't think so, because I still think this offense needs, if you want to rest some of the banged up guys or the defensive guys who have been footing the load all season, by all means, the defense has more than proven itself. I don't think you need to shove them out there to prove anything or do anything. But the offense, on the offensive side of the ball, you definitely need to continue to work on, like you said, getting in sync, getting competent, and being prepared for the playoffs. Week 18, definitely, if it's wrapped up, you don't put them out there. But against the Bills, that's a good opportunity to get your eyes on what's a playoff team going to look like. Can our offense look competent? Can our offense look, obviously it won't look exactly like it did against the Raiders, but can we keep that momentum in a way? Can we keep that flow to the game going? Or are we just going to fold back into, our conservative nature and the ways that have really, the frustration that currently exists with this team? So I agree, win, get it over with this week, make your decision. You win this week, Lane Johnson can have the rest of the season off, pretty much. A guy like Lane needs it. You can take Landon Dickerson probably out of the fold, or Cam Jurgens. I think they need it. But you do not take out, I don't think you would take out Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, some of those guys who just haven't seemed to be able to get things going consistently this season.
Well,
but I'm not a coaching staff.
Jalen Hurts, you're not going to play if you're able to give him, especially with what happened on his second to last play. Kind of get him off his feet. Get Saquon off his feet, especially if they're not going to get the number 1 seed. You want to give these guys, a week to kind of just sit, go into the playoffs, kind of like last year. We didn't have the number 1 seed. We were the number 2 seed. And we were able to host the NFC Championship game because Washington beat Detroit. So, like, I'm just saying, like, if you can win this week, get it. And then, see what happens Saturday night, see what happens Sunday. And if, there's still that possibility of the number 2 seed, maybe play the next game. Obviously, you're going to play against Buffalo. Now, you may play your starters a half. Who knows? But
that was kind of my thought. So Brett Eclipse's hypothetical: if the offense looks great against Washington and we assume the number 3 seed is locked up, would you rest your starters for Buffalo? I'm putting them out there for the first half. To be honest, I'm putting them out there because they need to see. You cannot go into the playoffs with your last games being dominating the Raiders and facing an incompetent Washington team that doesn't have their starting quarterback, doesn't have a bunch. They're all banged up. They're folded, pretty much folding for the season too. I'd play them against Buffalo because they need to see a competent, or else you're going 5 weeks without seeing a really good team, a really good defense, really competent offense.
I would just say, though, this team,
that.
I do trust it, though, because this team has the experience, obviously, from last year. Like, I think they could go a couple of weeks. I would play them a half against Buffalo. That's it. And then definitely not play them against Washington. Washington would be a Tanner McKee, Tank Bigsby, Darius Cooper game.
When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
This episode is brought to you by McAfee.
Finish your fantasy lineup?
No, but I'm joining this paid group chat with insider info.
Dude, seriously? Forward it to me. Security alert from McAfee. That group's as legit as that knockoff jersey you're wearing.
McAfee's scam detector is available in all McAfee plans for as little as $39.99 for your first year. Learn more at McAfee.com/online protection.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. You're ready to move your business forward, but first you need to find the right team. Start your search with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It can help you reach qualified candidates fast, ensuring your listing is the first one they see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. See the results for yourself. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Thursday Night Football is on, and it's only on Prime Video.
Brilliant, just brilliant.
This week, the West Coast action heats up when the Rams meet the Seahawks in a huge divisional showdown. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with football's best party, TNF Tonight, presented by Verizon. And don't miss the Broncos and Chiefs on Christmas night. It's Thursday Night Football, only on Prime Video. Not a Prime member? Not a problem. Simply sign up for a 30-day free trial. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
The Who's Down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
I want to see
Matt Pryor,
I want to
Drew
see
Kendall, get those guys out on the offensive line. I get Ty Robinson and Smile London and Jeremiah Trotter and Keely Ringo, Jacorian Bennett. One thing I wanted to mention on defense, like Marcus Epps has made a big difference because he is 1,000 times better than Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown sucks. And
Sidney Brown's terrible.
He shouldn't be on the team next year. It's crazy that like Marcus Epps has come in and kind of settled down that safety position. Is he great? He's not great, but he does the job. Like he knows the defense. He's a vet. He's a professional. He knows how to make tackles, something that Sidney Brown's not able to do. Like I think Sidney Brown had another penalty on Sunday. Like he needs to not be on this team next year.
Yeah, I was trying to see it because I feel like there was a play, and I feel like it was a special teams play, and Sidney Brown did something, and I thought it was a penalty too. I can't remember, but I remember it was Sidney Brown, and I was just at my TV screen, like, get this man cannot even do special teams. You have to have somebody who's sufficiently better than him to be out there even on special teams.
Who cares? But
Like, I mean, at this point, I get it. You invested a third-round draft capital. You gave this guy multiple opportunities. He took out Andrew Makuba. Like, he's responsible for multiple bonehead penalties that happen on special teams and on defense.
You mentioned Makuba. I wonder if Makuba is back by the playoffs. Like, Sidney Brown's not dressing. It's going to be Marcus Epps. It's going to be Reed Blankenship. It's going to be Makuba.
100%. There's no way you dress him.
Sidney
It's
Brown,
like Bryce Huff last year. You don't dress
Josh
him.
Uche's like
you
Josh
put your best
Uche
guys
this year,
out there.
AJ Dillon this year. They're not dressing, and it's like, again, you mentioned it. You put your best guys out there, so like I don't want to see Sidney Brown out there in an important spot.
And then I'm not going to lie, I would sit starters. O-line needs as much rest as possible. And to me, most of the NFC doesn't have the top defenses that you haven't already seen. The only one left really is Seattle with Micah being gone. I do, if you're going to rest...
The Rams' defensive line is really good, too.
Yeah, the Rams are still, like, I won't disrespect the Rams. They're definitely the best team in the NFC right now. Their offense is clicking on a whole other level.
Devontae being out potentially, though, could hurt.
If you rest any more than, say, two of your starting offensive linemen, you don't put Jalen Hurts out there. So if you're going to rest your O-line, you're not putting Jalen Hurts at risk of anything either. I don't think it hurts for them to play even a quarter or half against Buffalo, even if things are wrapped up.
What I'm doing, though, is I'm sitting my Alata, Dickerson, Juergens, and Lane. I would start Fred Johnson, Tyler Steen, Drew Kendall, Matt Pryor, and I don't know who's the other tackle. I don't even know who went in for Sunday, but like that's what I'm doing. Like that would be my line. It would be Kendall at center, Steen, Fred Johnson, Matt Pryor, and Brett Tolf, whatever. Like that would be your offensive line, and that's fine for the last game of the year. Like to go out there, just play. Like it's going to be a free game pretty much. It's going to be like last year, the game against the Giants. I think was the last game of the year. Yeah, like that's what it's going to be. It's just going to be Washington.
No, if they don't have to touch the field against Washington, you don't risk anybody. Obviously, you take that as an extended bye opportunity and you run with it. Any more comments on the Eagles domination of the Raiders?
We could have done a 5-minute show and been fine with it.
We got to do some hypotheticals. Thanks for stopping in there, Brett Eclipse, and giving us some good discussion points to hit on. And obviously, we're going to do plenty of off-season content where these hypotheticals start to become a reality that needs to be considered. And we welcome you back, and we will talk plenty about those things.
Yeah, but we got the win again. Magic number 1. Hopefully, we can finish it off on Saturday night. Again, the earlier the better, and then kind of see where things lie after Sunday in terms of seeding. The Eagles would be as low as the 3 seed, probably a less than 10% chance to get the number 1 seed, but you never know how things happen.
Stranger things happen in the
The Rams play Seattle still one more, if I'm not mistaken.
They play this Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, they play in a couple of days. So, I know, we have the head-to-head to them. We don't have any tiebreakers, if I'm not mistaken, with Seattle. So, that would be the only. But Sam Darnold doesn't scare me in the playoffs at all.
That's when he's going to start seeing ghosts.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting.
One more thing, because it's really interesting what has now began to possibly transpire in Kansas City. Do you think Andy Reid calls it a career?
I don't think Andy does, but I do think
Travis Kelce does.
Travis Kelce does, yes.
It's such an interesting scenario now breaking down there because you might have Mahomes back for the start of next season, but it's so interesting because there's so much work that needs to be done there. I think that somebody said they're $39 million over the cap. So first of all, you've all these needs that you're going to have to address, and you don't have the cap space.
Brett Veach is also good, and again, the cap's not real. They'll be able to figure it out.
No, of course. They can work some magic and then restructure. Mahomes is there for life. They can kick some money down the road with Patrick Mahomes. But I just wanted to get your perspective on it. I mean, Andy's getting older. Andy's ready to sit on a beach, eat some hot dogs, and call it a career, I'm sure,
well, he's
at some
also,
point.
how many wins away is he from having then, he's close enough, I think, to where
he is close to for history.
Yeah, so no, I don't think he retires.
Yeah, love this. Maybe Andy Reid will give up coaching and come back to Philly as an offensive coordinator.
You know, I think we're going to be so. This is going to be the interesting dynamic. Jalen hasn't had the same offensive coordinator in back-to-back years. It's going to be Kevin Patullo next year, probably.
If they find enough success down this stretch,
as much as we hate that,
yes.
It's going to be Patullo.
I could see it, and I hate the feeling too. It gives me, there's a weird pit in my stomach. I don't like the idea, but if we're successful enough, if we make any sort of, say we're an early playoff exit, I can see them canning them. But say you get any bit into that playoffs, like even just if you make it to like call it the conference finals, I think that he ends up keeping his job next year. I think it would be enough.
Yeah, I don't think he gets a head coaching job though. Like at least
no. That stuff about the Giants is crazy talk. I mean, if they want him, go ahead. Listen, I'm all for the Giants continuing to bury themselves, but yeah, no, I wouldn't touch him. It was the same as a Brian Johnson thing. Brian Johnson, he was rumored to maybe be a head coaching candidate, and he did. But the fact that it was even a thought to interview him for a head coaching role is, I mean,
that offense was better than this offense, which is crazy to say. So we will be back on Thursday or Friday this week to get you set for Saturday night football between the Eagles and the Washington Commanders. And the NFL did not do anybody justice by scheduling the two Commanders games in 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season. That should have been the Thursday night game, the Eagles and the Commanders NFC Championship game rematch, and Jaden Daniels isn't playing. The Commanders are eliminated from the playoffs. Like, the NFL screwed up royally with this by not scheduling this game earlier in the season. It's very true, and that's where we're probably going to be stuck unless, like, Howie and Jeffrey are like, I don't care what happens. We need a new voice. We'll see what happens. Any final thoughts, Connor, before we finish off?
No, you nailed it. I mean, that's a good example by Brett Eclipse, but I mean, I don't want to see it. And I could see, the pain and the suffering that a lot of the season was, no matter what the playoff result is. It's enough for them, like you said, for Howie and Jeffrey to go into the room and say, you had your hire again. He did better. He got us potentially in a better spot than Brian Johnson, but we can't relive that next year.
All right, so we'll be back later this week to get you set for the Eagles and the Commanders. As always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJRow54. Follow the Eagles Pinpool Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts at Eagles Pinpool Network. We'll be back later this week. Thank you all for joining and tuning in to the Kelly Green Hour.